sea level rise in North Carolina and Virginia. The state legislatures, which are Republican naturally, have decided that they don't want to hear about sea level rise. They don't want to know about the science. They don't care about the science, because what they want is to build as much as possible on these coastlines. So the legislatures in North Carolina, they said, we are not going to allow our Coastal Planning Commission to actually use the word sea level rise in coastal planning documents, because that's a liberal code word. And in Virginia, also in North Carolina, they've actually told their scientists that they're not allowed to use the latest physics and science techniques to calculate what it might be in the future, what sea level rise might be in the future.
All right, that's awesome. So first of all, we have the normal Orwellian stuff. You're just not allowed to use certain words. So if the sea levels are rising, don't fix that. Just ban people from saying sea level. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, if ever there was a Republican tactic, that describes it perfectly. Like, okay, just, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't hear it. If you don't hear it, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about what's actually happening in the real world. Okay, then the second part of it is something that we had kind of predicted jokingly. I said, you know, look, they're against climate science. Eventually, they'll start to be against other things. I say, oh, and then they're against evolution. They say that's a theory of evolution. We have other theories, like the theory of gravity, and they're going to be like, gravity. Yeah. And then eventually I said this would spread, and they'd have a war on science and a war on math, and, you know, eventually 2 + 2 is not going to equal 4, but in the middle somewhere is physics. And here's, you know, the Republicans saying, well, if physics tells you that the sea levels are rising, then screw physics. Okay, you're not allowed to do it. Okay.
Well, and they say that this was driven by lobbying from developers who want to have access to that coastline. They want to build it, they want to sell it, they want to get out. And it brings up some very troubling questions about what happens to the people who build there, who don't know that they are in an area that is targeted, predicted by our U.S. Geological Survey for having a sea level rise of
don't say sea level. Oh, what are you doing?
Sorry, that's right.
This is going to get banned in North Carolina and Virginia now.
The words now are recurrent flooding. So when the recurrent flooding goes up over 3 feet by the end of this century, that's just going to, instead of it being, you know, recurring, it'll be just permanent recurrent flooding. That's what they want to call it.
I see. I was going to say, actually, recurrent flooding sounds worse.
I know.
Okay, like the typical dumbasses that they are. They're like, oh, no, sea level, that's hurting us. Yeah, let's call it recurrent flooding.